This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Her aim was self-erasure. The more invisible she was, the better her chances of survival. In her journal, she noted what she ate, read, thought. The first was uncontroversial. The second and third were not. For this reason, she hid the journal. When she suspected the Gestapo was closing in on her, she destroyed it. Burned it, most likely. She was at the harrowing center of the German resistance, but she wasn't German, nor was she Polish or French. She was American, conspicuously so. The men she recruited acquired code names: Armless, Beamer, Worker. She operated under no code name. Still, she was elusive. The nature of her work required absolute secrecy. She didn't dare tell her family, who were scattered across the towns and dairy farms of the Midwest. They remained bewildered that she, at 26, had jumped aboard a steamer ship and crossed the Atlantic, leaving behind everyone she loved. Her family is my family. 3 generations separate us. She preferred anonymity, so I will whisper her name: Mildred Harnack. In 1932, she held her first clandestine meeting in her apartment, a small band of political activists that grew into the largest underground resistance group in Berlin by the end of the decade. During the Second World War, her group collaborated with a Soviet espionage network that conspired to defeat Hitler, employing agents and operatives in Paris, Geneva, Brussels, and Berlin. In the fall of 1942, the Gestapo pounced. She was thrown in prison. So were her co-conspirators. During a hastily convened trial at the Reichskriegsgericht, the Reich Court-Martial, a prosecutor who'd earned the moniker Hitler's Bloodhound hammered them with questions. She sat on a wooden chair in the back of the courtroom. Other chairs held high-ranking Nazi officers. At the center of the room sat a panel of 5 judges. Everyone there was German except her. When it was her turn, she approached the stand. She was emaciated, her lungs ravaged by tuberculosis she'd contracted in prison. How long she stood there remains unknown. Surviving documents don't note the time the prosecutor began questioning her, or the time he stopped. What is known is this: the answers she gave him were lies, real whoppers. The judges believed her. The sentence she received was considered mild: 6 years of hard labor in a prison camp. 2 days later, Hitler overrode the verdict and ordered her execution. On February 16, 1943, she was strapped to a guillotine and beheaded. After the war, the U.S. Army's Counterintelligence Corps opened an investigation. Mildred Harnack's actions are laudable, one CIC official observed in 1946, noting the rather extensive file they had on her. It is quite possible that investigation will disclose the commission of a war crime, wrote another. Their higher-ranking colleague later reprimanded them in a terse memo. This case is classified SR, secret, restricted, and should not have been referred for investigation. Withdraw case from Detachment D and do not continue the investigation. So the CIC buried her case. The reason for this would not come to light for over 50 years. Still, news leaked out. On December 1, 1947, the New York Times ran a story under the headline, "Hitler Beheaded American Woman as a Personal Reprisal in 1943. With comprehensive knowledge of the German underground movement, Mildred Harnack stood up courageously under Gestapo torture and revealed nothing," it noted. Later that week, the Washington Post praised her as one of the leaders in the underground against the Nazis. Readers of the New York Times and the Washington Post were probably surprised to learn that an active underground resistance in Germany had even existed.